Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Hanisah, metric number 255729, and my group will be presenting for PETRONAS risk assessment. So we are from group 10 and here are our group mates. First of all, we start with PETRONAS company background. We had chosen PETRONAS, which is a Malaysia oil and gas company wholly owned by Malaysia government. PETRONAS operating activities include upstream, gas and new energy, and downstream activities. Since being founded in 1974, now PETRONAS has successfully have presence in more than 50 countries and involved in 40 joint ventures worldwide. Currently, at least 5 of its subsidiaries has been listed in Bursa. So next is the risk matrix. So this is the indicators. And here is the severity rating, which is based on 4 aspects, which is people, asset, environment, and reputation. And here is the risk matrix that we had identified in PETRONAS. As you can see, we had ranked 15 risks and categorized it accordingly based on the severity rating and its probability to happen. So the result is that 3 risks is categorized as a very high risk, 4 high risk, 2 moderate risk, 5 low risk, and 1 categorized as a very low risk. So we will look at it one by one. Firstly is the safety and health risk. Safety and health risk dealing with hazardous chemical reactions and radioactive radiations. Besides that is in handling the abnormal wellhead behavior and technical malfunction. In the operation of PETRONAS, the chemicals involved are mercury, sulfur, nitrogen, and others, which are very dangerous and can cause fatality if it is not managed with care. Also, similarly, in the situation of technical, which is constantly managing with oil and gas temperature, pressure, and others. So for this risk, the risk response is to mitigate the risk by following the zero tolerance rules, which is the ZETO rules, as you can see here. And also besides that is to make it compulsory for reporting any incident that happened in the HSE lesson learned report.
Assalamualaikum and a very good day. I am Nurul Najihah binti Zainal Abidin, metric number 255683. I will continue the presentation for the next risk. It is classified as high risk, which is volatility oil price risk. The law of supply and demand would cause the oil price to change. A low price environment would make it difficult for PETRONAS to pursue any investment for their project. Example of event on this risk is during the decline of price of oil in 2016, which decreased the business profit to 57%. This risk had affected the cash flow from operation since it cannot meet the capital expenditure of the business. And the risk response is to mitigate the risk. This risk would include the probability and severity aspect. PETRONAS need to investigate the probability of occurrence for the risk to find out what is the possibility of risk to occur and have a brainstorming session to reduce the impact of risk. Next, let's move to environmental protection risk. It is also classified as high risk. These risks have the concern with waste management that consists of air emission, wastewater, hazardous waste, soil, and groundwater. The risk response would be mitigate the risk. To limit the disposal of waste per day, PETRONAS has been strictly followed the legislation under Environmental Quality Act 1974 and Atomic Energy Licensing Act 1984. PETRONAS also has set up HSSE mandatory control framework to manage the risk. Example is in this slide. We have two examples, air pollution and liquid waste. For air pollution, it is unregulated high daily carbon emission. It would have the impact for speeding up the global climate system and increase the sea levels. At the same time, it will expose the public health to respiratory problems. For liquid waste, the effluent discharge would contain harmful chemicals impurities. This would affect the aquatic ecosystem and the public health also. Last, we move to political risk. This is also classified as high risk. Political risk is probability change of political decision, event, or condition that will result in loss to the organization. The risk response is avoidance and mitigation. PETRONAS should make a plan to reduce the same issue in future. This plan should involve the identify, assess, and develop strategies to manage the risk. That's all for me. Let's move to the next presenter.
Assalamualaikum and a very good morning. My name is Siti Rogai binti Ismail, metric number 256310. So now I'm going to continue with geographical risk. So this risk is a very high risk. This risk concerned with the exploration process in searching of available of non-renewable energy. So as the hydrocarbon resources in Malaysia are becoming limited, PETRONAS has expanded their operation across the world in search of the available non-renewable energy. Due to this, the exploration process is exposed to the geographical risk based on the location of the new exploration operation. So the response towards this risk is acceptance, as PETRONAS need to develop plan in facing the risk consequences, as the operation overseas will require the company to comply with that country laws and economic condition. So next would be competitive risk. Our assessment toward this risk is a moderate risk. So this risk is related with the risk of losing as a result of the competition pressure, along with the potential of reduction in revenue because of the price, promotion, or the action of competitor. So due to globalization, it is hard for Petronas to keep on relying with the national regulation to protect its local position in the oil and gases industry. They face intense competition from both domestically and internationally. For example, Petronas subsidiary company, which is Petronas Dagangan Sdn Bhd, main competitor was Royal Dutch Shell, but now they need to compete with other retail competitor like ESSO, Caltex, and BHP. Besides, substitute products such as coal also started to become a threat to its pipeline operation due to its cheaper price. So basically, the response towards this risk is mitigation, as Petronas can use management control system to reduce the potential loss from occurring. Petronas should gather information in regards to their competitors' oil prices and study the available information to decide how they can provide better services compared to their competitors. And next would be unforeseen pandemic risk. So our assessment toward this risk is a moderate risk. This risk related to risks that happen due to unknown disease spread out and infecting everyone around the world and affecting business operation. So this year the pandemic coronavirus has led to a lockdown from March and had delayed some of Petronas project. This can cause continuous unsettling prediction of global supply chain and service provider. Besides, the pandemic also impacted the day-to-day operation. Therefore, in effort to containing the spread of the virus, Petronas management had required its employees to work from home with a schedule for work rotation. Thus, this limit the number of employees physically attending the plant each day. The response towards this risk is mitigation. As coronavirus is a natural phenomena where the company cannot predict it will happen, therefore mitigation response using the severity method can be used to reduce the impact of risk towards the critical success factor of the project. So that's all from me. I'm going to pass to my friend. Thank you.
Let's move on to the first policy, to the first risk, which is economic policy risk. Economic policy risk has control petroleum on the petroleum production, supply and demand. Since the economic policy risk has always changing, the company needed to follow it from time to time. This means that the company needed to keep on updated on the current policies. Risk response to this is by acceptance. The company needed to accept possible risks or outcome whenever there are changes in economic policies, so that the company is updated and following what is happening in the economic. Next is the legal and regulatory risk. The company is subjected to the critical laws and regulations. So, for instance, antitrust, anti-bribery, and data protection. PETRONAS was fully involved in controversy and legal proceedings, which has many uncertainties and outcomes that are difficult to predict. Risk response for this is mitigation. PETRONAS should keep updated with the latest procedures and regulations, which it can be used in their daily operations. Human resources risk. During the crisis with oil price, it has resulted in the restructuring exercise of the PETRONAS gas per heart. For example, PETRONAS has laid off many employees for cost-saving measures during the crisis. Another one is the difference in the generation point of view is one of the examples for human resources risk. Risk response for this type of risk is the mitigation. Instead of laying off some employees, PETRONAS should implement another approach during the crisis, such as stop giving out yearly bonus and salary increment to their employees. That's all. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and very good morning. My name is Ahmad Zafri Hasmi bin Muhammad Hashim, method number 256235. So now I will continue with operating risk. The assessment for this risk is low risk. PETRONAS having many machine and equipment that the operation does not fully utilize those assets due to internal conflict with the upper management, who require for the lower level operation to only operate a portion of the total number of machines. Also, the operation is still practicing using old machine and equipment due to financial reason to cut costs. So, the response toward this risk is avoidance. PETRONAS should have eliminated the risk of selling the machine that would not be used instead of leaving it untended. In regards to old machine, it should be replaced or leased with new machine, whichever is better based on the budget allocated, so that it would break down less often and save maintenance costs. So next risk is reputation risk. So our assessment to this risk is low risk. So this risk related to the potential of negative public perception that will adversely impact the reputation of a company as well as the financial performance. This risk occur when the customer start to compare the vehicle performance after using PETRONAS and using their competitor oil. The customer mindset that when using Petron oil, the vehicle movement can give extra pickup compared to using PETRONAS oil. So basically, respond toward this risk is mitigation. PETRONAS should identify by gathering and reviewing the comment from the public. This can assist PETRONAS to investigate the weakness and determine relevant reputational attributes within the company. By doing this, PETRONAS may determine the indicator for each attribute so that the company is able to act appropriately when the reputation is at risk. So, the last risk is social risk. The assessment for this risk is very low risk. Action that are done with affect the communities of the business company, such as labor issue, human rights violation in the workforce, and even corporate official corruption. So the response toward this risk is transfer. By transferring of social risk should be done by not taking advantage of worker by giving reasonable reason on why they get dismissed to their work for their contribution and hard work toward the company. Uh, for the conclusion, we learn to apply a risk matrix during the risk assessment to define the level of each of every identified risk by considering the category of probability. Next, PETRONAS need to further strengthen their risk management control to mitigate their risk holistically in every aspect. Lastly, assessment of risk identification and the risk management planning are needed at all stages of development to mitigate the risk and have been studied. I think that's all from us. Thank you.